pejoratives and epithets. Some may defend him on the grounds that his comments are allegedly correct, but that's irrelevant. The fact is that he advised people to bless those who curse them. In effect, he was a hypocrite. He didn't even address his own mother in a respectful manner. The 15th question discusses an issue that has plagued biblicist for centuries. Even many of the staunchest defenders of Jesus are hard-pressed to reconcile Matthew 26:52, which says, quote, "All that take up the sword shall perish with the sword," unquote, to reconcile that with Matthew 10:34, which says, quote, "I, Jesus, came not to send peace, but a sword." If all that take up the sword will perish with the sword, then Jesus too should perish. After all, he said that he had come to send the sword. In Luke 22:36, he said, "He that hath no sword, let him sell his garment and buy one." If that's not a call to arms, what is? The 16th question opens up another one of those can of worms that apologists would just as soon remain closed forever. It concerns the contradictory genealogies to be found in Matthew 1 and Luke 3. According to Romans 1:3 and Acts 2:30, the Messiah must be a physical descendant of David. Out of the loins is the key phrase. Yet how could Jesus meet this requirement when the genealogies in Matthew and Luke show he descended from David through Joseph, who was not his natural father? Since Jesus was supposedly the product of a virgin birth, he had no natural father. And if Joseph was not his natural father, then the physical chain from David down to Jesus through Joseph was broken. Thus, Jesus couldn't be the Messiah because he flunked a crucial test. Apologists have been exceptionally dishonest in their attempts to reconcile this major difficulty. The most common explanation one will hear is that the genealogy found in Matthew is that of Joseph, while the one in Luke is that of Mary. They contend that the genealogy in Luke retains his physical connection to David through Mary, his natural mother, and the genealogy in Matthew retains his legal claim to the throne of David because Joseph is a physical descendant of David and simultaneously the legal father of Jesus. Of course, all of this is pure double talk for several reasons. First and most obvious is the fact that Mary isn't even mentioned in the genealogy of Luke. Imagine a genealogy in which the most important person involved isn't even mentioned. There is absolutely nothing in Luke's genealogy that would lead anyone to believe it is that of Mary. Second, the Bible has no genealogical record of any woman. And there is nothing that would lead anyone to believe that Mary is an exception. Every name in Luke's genealogy is that of a man, yet we are supposed to believe that the last one is that of a woman, a name that isn't even present. The 17th query exposes one of those questions that is so obvious, so simple, that people just don't notice its presence. Biblicists have heard the contextual verses to this question for most of their lives, but have never taken time to do any kind of analytical thought. In essence, the problem is as follows. Jesus told a man in Mark 8:34, Whoever will come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me, unquote. The obvious question is, what cross? There's no cross to take up. Jesus hadn't died on the cross yet. The man to whom he was speaking would have had no idea what he was talking about. The cross did not become a Christian symbol until after the crucifixion. So any reference to the cross prior to the crucifixion would have made no sense to anyone unless they knew the future. So any reference to the cross prior to the crucifixion, as I say, would have made no sense to anyone unless they knew the future. Apologists have tried to resolve this difficulty by saying the cross referred to the burdens of being a Christian in general. But that has no validity whatever. Would Jesus refer to a cross other than the one upon which he died? Moreover, apologists are obligated to prove that the cross represented some kind of burden prior to the crucifixion. Otherwise, what does take up the cross mean? It could mean any one of several things. If a cross, other than the one upon which Jesus died, is the object of his attention, then one could follow Jesus by just bearing the trials and tribulations of existence in general. Under this criterion, Muslims, Hindus, and Jews could very well be denying themselves and taking up the cross. The 18th question exposes the rather pronounced tendency of Jesus to rewrite Old Testament admonitions to his own specifications. In Matthew 5:17-19, he made a strong committal to uphold the old law at all costs.